As the air of uncertainty continued to spread and envelop the entire Sokoto atmosphere, majority of the communities who had been ravaged by the renewed assaults by the Fulani terrorists known as bandits, renewing this onslaught against several communities, predominantly Hausa communities, unleashing mayhem. The communities and the masses have staged a massive protest in expressing their dissatisfaction over the continued massacring of communities, demanding the government's immediate intervention over what they considered an ethnic cleansing, a deliberate intention to annihilate and overrun their communities. It is quite a very disturbing development. This have led to massive protests over the bandit attacks, killings in several communities. Recall in recent past months, the Fulani terrorists of bandits ordered the Hausa communities in Sokoto state to quit their lands or, of course, be buyed. And you see the displaced communities with their load and baggages quitting the communities, not knowing where eventually they might end up. This is a very disturbing development and humanitarian crisis, considering the level of individuals being displaced, including women, children, defenseless population. It's a very disturbing development, and they're staging a protest just to draw the attention of the government to their predicament and plight. It's a very disturbing development and a national dilemma that have defied the efforts of the people. And people are now looking up to the government to live up to her responsibilities of protecting their life and that of their family members, which, according to the provision of the Constitution, that the primary essence or responsibility of government is to protect life and property and the welfare of the citizenry. But people have expressed dissatisfaction and disappointment over the continued killing of the indigenous people and displacement of the indigenous people from their ancestral home. It's a very disturbing development, as I've stressed, honestly. Now, considering the significance of Sokoto to the caliphate, to the Fulani caliphate, Sokoto happens to be the cradle of the Fulani caliphate, and which also has, to greater extent, the concentration of the Hausa communities. The Sokoto is being considered as one of the Hausa states or communities before the migration of the Fulanis. And eventually, over time, there have been growing unrest in that region, unabetting raidings, attack, invasions, leading to scores of death, displacement of several communities after the other. One would have thought with influence of the traditional rulers and religious rulers, as Sultan Sokoto happens to be the leader of the Muslim movement in Nigeria, would have been able to wade into such situation. 2 years ago, we also learned that the bandits run into communities, kidnapping the clerics, some emirs, which eventually the Sultan of Sokoto narrowly escaped such tragedy. And it is quite very unfortunate that the bandits were celebrating such deadly assault on several communities. No one is spared as far as terror is concerned. Possibly not even some felony in defenseless population could also be attacked because these guys have no regard for God, let alone human beings. This is a very disturbing development, an ever-growing concern, which I believe should be one of the major priorities of the northern political class or the ruling class instead, because this is becoming one too many. Yes, it's becoming one too many, and considering the importance and significance of the Sokoto Caliphate, one should have thought that there would have been peace, serenity within the caliphate communities bordering the Sokoto states. It is a very disturbing development, honestly, which we do hope that those are responsible, including the government and whosoever is saddled with such responsibility, will live up to that responsibility. It says Sokoto residents staged mass protests over bandit attack, killing in several communities. How long will they continue to watch their loved ones being annihilated in such gruesome and very deadly manner? Without any justification, that is just the case. Without any justification. The only offense is that they found themselves within the terrain where some assailants working for certain vested interests, of course, demanding that they quit from their own communities to any other place that they think they could be safe, but leave these regions for us. Just like that. That we're interested in this location, just quit, bucket, or you are killed. You'll be overrun. Does it mean that the government and the traditional heads of different communities and the religious heads are not aware of what is going on? Of course, these people understood the borders, where they infiltrate, where they come in and eventually unleash mayhem. So what is stopping the locals, the traditional and religious leaders, to build a synergy and empower the locals, be it local hunters or youth, of course, to build security? But these deadly assailants are well equipped, armed to the teeth with the latest armories, sophisticated rifles, weaponry to dislodge and overrun every community. turning each community in their thousands. You know what that means? That you could hardly put up resistance. But that notwithstanding, if the communities are also as prepared in the state of preparedness, definitely they could wage a war to deter these deadly assailants who are on a mission to accomplish their goal or what they are paid for or what they consider as an incentive or motivation for committing such heinous crime. To them, it does not matter how many people goes down in the process, including children. It doesn't matter how many children have been displaced, but what matters to them is to achieve that notorious interest. Very sad indeed. That is the state of Nigeria today. Needless to talk about what is going on in Zamfara. People are complaining in Kwara State, even in Katsina State, that happens to be the state of the former president. Hausa communities are also being threatened. You begin to ask at other ethnic nationalities, what exactly is going on? Even while the president Buhari was in office, what exactly is going on? So the level of his frustration and disappointment expressed by these citizens of Nigeria who, under the law or constitution, their safety should be guaranteed and their protection and properties should be guaranteed, is now suffering these grave consequences. Sadly, even the military personnel have been overwhelmed. They are not left out in these deadly assaults, most often becoming victims of this cruelty. Now, what else is left for the country? It is purely very clear that what is going on is not just about religious inclination. What is playing out is more or less predominantly ethnocentric. How could a group of people, of bandits who call themselves terrorists, terrorists who call themselves bandits, could be ordering the Hausa communities to vacate? In one of the videos, we displayed a video clip where a Fulani header was celebrating moving the cows, the cattle, into the farmland presumed to be that of the Hausas, saying, we are going to show them Pepe. We are destroying their farmland and we are going to make them cry. And the traditional heads of the Fulanis are aware of all this. They are seeing these videos. Why are they not calling their own people to order? And some person will say, of course, not all the Fulanis, but they have their heads, they have, of course, the institutions that should have called them to order. You guys, of course, they saw the videos, they could also track the individuals involved and the location they are operating. You guys are bringing insults, of course, stigmatization to our own ethnic nationality. You got to stop, or we deal with you. That's the way to go about that. But when there is seemingly perceived conspiracy of silence. You wouldn't blame the people for generalizing that or presuming that these are the collective interests representing the interests of an average Fulani man. But if the traditional heads or religious leaders have called them to order, you know them, you can see them, you see them operating at different locations. Sometimes you visit this Islamic cleric, pay visit to some of the kingpin or leaders. You talk to them. You know their hideouts. So what exactly is deterring the traditional heads, the religious leaders from embarking on such, talking to their own people? Or could it be that something they are not telling the masses? Well, it is quite a very disturbing development. As a matter of fact, it's a very worrisome and disturbing case. Honestly. And you now begin to ask, does it mean there are no presence of security in the entire Sokoto that could defy such ugly trends in national embarrassment or assault on the Nigerian citizenry? Honestly, it calls for concern, and we do hope that the government will live up to her responsibilities to the people. It is not optional, but mandatory that the government should seek a lasting solution to this continual red infaction of several communities in the northern part, not just in the north. Of course, sadly, it is spreading down to the southern part, who are also lamenting and crying over the ever rising state of insecurity. Or recent, you saw the courage the Kwara vigilantes put up in order to wed and to go after these assailants, occupying their forests, making life unbearable, of course, to the host communities. That was a courage well commended, of course, by majority of people, that the locals are now forming, building a synergy to ensure that their own life is preserved, because these guys are coming after the communities. If you don't brace up to the challenge, definitely become a victim. So those vigilantes in Kwara State have been commended for their courage and dedication towards their own freedom and their own security or safety. What I would want to know from you, what exactly is going on? If the seat of power is not safe, this Sokoto, this Fulani Caliphate, a seat of power, then where else could be safe? Yes, where else could be safe? As the Muslim preach that the Muslim is the religious of, religion of peace. Of course, one should have expected that the entire Sokoto state that housed the seat of the caliphate should enjoy the same peace and also extend the same peace across other states of the region. The Northeast is not safe, the North Central or the Middle Belt veterans are not safe. The Northwest is also having a fair share of what is going on. just like the Zamfara, the Castina, and the rest of them. So what exactly is happening? Let me have your own take, of course, via the comment section and what you think would be the way out of this. People are fed up. You can see the mammoth crowds that trooped in to protest, to demand the immediate action from the government, from the security operatives, because they are tired and fed up of this indiscriminate killings and attack on the host communities. Sadly, you saw women frustrated, strolling several miles endlessly, not knowing where they will eventually end up, abandoning their source of livelihood, which is predominantly farming, to end up in internally displaced camps, where definitely life will be altered. The very liberty and sense of identity is fast gradually eroded, becoming refugees in a supposed country where you have a government running. And yet, there is a nagging need of national concern that your citizens are losing their rights to live within their defined territory, being threatened by certain state actors. And yet, the government is watching, and some persons have said, well, some security chiefs have said, the people have to train and learn combat skills to defend themselves for self-defense. Where is that sincerity in all this? Where the vulnerable, defenseless mothers, children also train combat skills to defend themselves? Well, that is rather unfortunate. Let's have your own take via the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, and turn on the notification button for more political updates. Thanks for watching.